There are moments in every life when the light grows dim, when the road bends into shadow, and the silence around us feels too heavy to bear. It is in these moments that faith is most tempted to abandon us, or rather, that we are most tempted to abandon faith. For faith is not simply believing when the evidence is plain. It is holding fast when the evidence seems to vanish altogether. Faith is not the absence of questions, nor the silencing of doubts. It is the courage to walk through the questions, to carry the doubts as one carries a heavy pack on a long journey, trusting that beyond the next hill there is a place of rest. It is easy to believe when the sun is shining, but it is in the storm that belief proves its worth. Anyone can steer a ship in calm waters, but faith was fashioned for tempests. Perhaps you feel weary now, as though every prayer you have spoken has dissolved into the air unheard. Perhaps you stand at the edge of discouragement, convinced that the distance left to travel is too great, that the strength within you is too small. But remember this: faith is not measured by the size of our strength, but by the one in whom we place our trust. A seed, though small, holds forests within it. So too, a flicker of faith holds power enough to move mountains. There is a dangerous lie that whispers in the dark, telling us that faith has failed because life has not yet changed. But faith was never promised as a shortcut, nor as a key to instant relief. Faith is not the dismissal of pain, it is the refusal to let pain have the final word. To quit faith now, when the night seems longest, is to forfeit the very dawn that is drawing near. For dawn does not announce itself before it arrives, it comes suddenly after the darkest hour. Do not mistake silence for absence. The seeming stillness may be the very place where roots are growing deepest. The unanswered prayer may be shaping you for a strength you do not yet see. Faith is often forged in delay. Like iron in fire, we are refined by the waiting. Consider the traveler who stops just short of the spring because the desert feels endless. He turns back, unaware that water lay but a few steps ahead. So many give up at the edge of their breakthrough, unable to believe that the unseen could be so near. That is why faith insists, don't quit now. The truth is, perseverance itself is a form of victory. Every time you choose to believe again, you are already defeating despair. Every time you rise once more, you are proving that faith is not fragile but resilient, not an ornament for easy days but an anchor for hard ones. You may not see it yet, but your faith is doing its work. It is holding you steady, shaping your vision, preparing your heart. The harvest comes to those who endure the winter. The light belongs to those who will not surrender to the dark. So hold on a little longer. Keep trusting when you feel nothing. Keep believing when you see nothing. For faith is not finished with you, and the story is not over. Don't quit now. Faith is not proved in sunshine, but in storms. It was made to carry you through the nights when answers hide and hope seems faint. Faith is not proved in sunshine, but in storms. It was made to carry you through the nights when answers hide and hope seems faint. It is easy to stand firm when the skies are bright, when prayers seem answered swiftly, and when every step forward feels guided by light. But the true test of faith is revealed when clouds gather, when silence lingers long after you have prayed, when the way ahead feels hidden, and when the heart aches with unanswered questions. It is in those seasons that faith is stretched beyond the realm of comfort into the realm of trust. Faith is not about grasping what is visible. It is about believing what is invisible, trusting what is promised even when it has not yet appeared, and walking forward when sight offers nothing but shadows. In storms, the temptation to give up becomes strong, because the human heart longs for certainty, for visible proof, for assurance that the struggle will soon pass. Yet storms are the very conditions in which faith finds its strength. A seed planted in soft soil cannot take root without first being pressed down, hidden away in darkness, and watered by unseen forces. In the same way, faith cannot truly grow in the easy seasons of life. Faith was made for storms, for those moments when human strength reaches its end, and only trust in something greater can carry the soul forward. The night is often long and heavy with silence, but silence does not mean abandonment. Just as a teacher remains silent during the test, so it is with faith. The silence does not signify that you are alone. It signifies that this is the moment to lean deeper, to hold tighter, to walk forward not by sight but by trust. Faith does not promise immediate relief from pain, but it promises endurance through pain. It does not remove the storm, but it steadies the heart so that the storm cannot sweep it away. There is a hidden strength that comes only when the soul chooses to keep believing in the absence of answers. When hope seems faint, and yet you cling to hope, that choice itself becomes a victory. It is in the nights when the light of certainty is gone that the true beauty of faith shines brightest. To keep walking when the path is unseen, to keep praying when the silence feels heavy, to keep believing when nothing changes, this is the very essence of faith. Faith, by its very nature, does not rely on sight. It is not a response to what is obvious. It is the assurance of what is unseen, the conviction that reality extends beyond what the senses can capture. If faith needed sunshine to survive, it would not be faith at all, but mere comfort. Faith is not comfort, it is courage. It is the anchor that holds in the storm, the flame that refuses to go out in the wind, the voice that whispers keep going. When everything else screams, turn back. When the heart cries out for answers and none come, when prayers seem to rise into the sky only to return with silence, it is tempting to think that faith has failed. But faith is not meant to eliminate the struggle. It is meant to transform the struggler. The unanswered moment is not proof of abandonment, but a stage on which faith is tested, refined, and made strong. Gold is purified only by fire. Faith is purified only by storms, and the refining is not wasted, for it produces a strength that calm days could never create. Many turn back just before the breakthrough, weary from the waiting and convinced that faith has not worked. But storms do not last forever, and often the darkest night is just before dawn. To endure through the night is to step into the light prepared by perseverance. Faith carries you through the hours when hope seems faint, because it is not built on emotion but on conviction. Emotions rise and fall like waves, but conviction anchors the soul. Faith in storms teaches the heart something sunshine never could, that you are held even when you cannot feel the hands holding you, that you are guided even when you cannot see the path ahead, that you are loved even when love feels distant. The storm does not erase truth. It only hides it for a time, and faith is the courage to keep walking as though the truth were still visible. Faith does not quit when answers hide. It presses on. Faith does not crumble when hope feels faint. It clings tighter. Faith does not wait for the storm to end before believing. It believes in the midst of the storm, and in doing so, faith is strengthened, refined, and made unshakable. The beauty of faith is that it does not need the evidence of sunshine. It was made for storms. Do not mistake silence for absence. Unseen roots grow deepest in the waiting, and your breakthrough may be only steps away. Do not mistake silence for absence. Unseen roots grow deepest in the waiting, and your breakthrough may be only steps away. Life often leads us into seasons where the silence feels louder than any word could, where prayers seem to echo back unanswered, and where the absence of change tempts us to believe that we have been forgotten. Yet silence does not mean that nothing is happening. for silence is often the very soil in which transformation takes place. A seed buried beneath the ground cannot be seen, and to the eye above, it seems as if nothing is happening. But in that hidden darkness, roots are reaching deep, foundations are being formed, and strength is being built for the growth that will one day break the surface. It is human nature to grow restless in the waiting, to want proof that something is shifting, to crave evidence that progress is being made. But the unseen work of faith is rarely immediate and rarely visible at first glance. Just as the roots of a tree stretch far beneath the earth before branches climb into the sky, so the unseen work in your life must develop before the visible fruit can appear. The silence is not wasted, it is preparing you for what is to come. If all growth were visible at once, there would be no need for patience and no opportunity for faith to mature. Faith requires trusting that what is hidden is no less real than what is seen, and that the silence is not empty but full of unseen activity. To mistake silence for absence is to misinterpret the nature of growth. Growth is quiet. Roots do not shout their progress. They deepen in silence. Muscles strengthen not while lifting, but while resting afterward. The most meaningful transformations in life are rarely loud. The danger of confusing silence with absence is that it can lead to despair, convincing us that nothing is happening, when in fact everything necessary is unfolding beneath the surface. To hold faith in the silence is to trust the process, even when the process feels invisible. Patience in waiting is not passive, it is active endurance. It is choosing to believe that every unseen moment is contributing to what will one day be revealed. It is refusing to let discouragement take root just because the evidence of change has not yet appeared. Waiting refines the soul, teaches resilience, and stretches trust beyond what is comfortable. And in that stretching, strength is forged. A tree with shallow roots topples easily in storms, but roots that have been forced to grow deep in silence can withstand the fiercest winds. Breakthroughs often come suddenly, but they are rarely sudden in their making. What appears to be an overnight change is almost always the result of a long season of hidden preparation. The ground may look barren for months, and then one morning, the first green shoot pierces the soil. That moment of breakthrough feels sudden, yet it was made possible by all the silent days before it, days when unseen growth was quietly taking place. The same is true in life. The waiting is not empty. It is building what will sustain you when the breakthrough finally comes. There is also a subtle danger in trying to dig up what is still growing. A seed that is unearthed too soon will never sprout, because its roots were not allowed to form. In the same way, if you abandon faith in the silent season, you risk stepping away just before the growth emerges. Many give up because they cannot see results, not realizing that their moment of transformation was only steps away. Faith requires the courage to hold steady, even when everything in you wants to turn back. This silence is not the end of the story. It is a chapter that prepares for the next. To endure the silence is to believe that absence is not abandonment, that delay is not denial, that what you cannot see is still real. In fact, what is unseen is often more lasting than what is visible, because the hidden roots will sustain the visible growth long after it appears. The unseen work is not wasted, it is essential. Even in silence, there are signs if you pay attention. The heart begins to grow stronger, the spirit learns to endure, the soul becomes more patient. These are not loud changes, but they are profound. They shape you into the kind of person who can carry the weight of the blessing that is coming. Without the season of waiting, the breakthrough would be too heavy, too soon, too easily lost. The silence is not withholding, It is preparing. Every step of waiting draws you closer to what is ahead. The temptation is to believe that the silence means nothing is near, when in reality, the silence often means that you are closer than ever. Like a traveler weary from a long journey, you may be tempted to turn back, unaware that the spring you long for is just beyond the next hill. So many abandon the path in discouragement, unable to believe that relief could be so near. The silence is not meant to deceive you, but to grow you, to teach you to trust what you cannot yet see. Roots do not grow shallow when they are given time to deepen. They do not rush their work, and neither should you. The silence is sacred space, the place where character is built, endurance is formed, and faith becomes unshakable. Do not mistake silence for absence. What you long for may be closer than you think. Perseverance itself is victory. Every choice to believe again is already defeating despair, so faith must not quit now. Perseverance itself is victory. Every choice to believe again is already defeating despair, so faith must not quit now. Too often we imagine victory as the final outcome, the grand moment when all struggles are behind us, when the answers have come, and the reward is visible in plain sight. But there is a deeper truth that often goes unnoticed. Victory begins long before the outcome is revealed. Victory is born in the unseen decisions, in the quiet determination to stand when you feel like collapsing, in the repeated act of believing one more time even after yesterday's hope seemed to fade. Each step forward in perseverance is itself a triumph over despair. Despair whispers that there is no point in continuing, that the silence proves you are forgotten, that the effort is wasted, that faith is useless. Yet every time you rise in defiance of that voice and choose to believe again, you are already winning. You may not feel triumphant, but perseverance is proof that despair has not won. Faith is not fragile when it endures the weight of disappointment. Faith is strongest when it survives the blows that should have destroyed it. Consider the image of a climber ascending a mountain. The summit is far beyond sight, the path steep and grueling, the air thin and unforgiving. Every step feels small and almost pointless against the vastness of the journey. Yet each step is victory, for with every movement upward the climber defies gravity's pull. Despair would have him stop, but perseverance keeps him rising. Even if the summit is unseen, the mere act of climbing is triumph over defeat. In the same way, faith that refuses to quit, even in the absence of visible change, is already conquering despair with every step it takes. Perseverance reshapes the heart. It teaches strength that cannot be gained in ease. It trains the soul to endure, to hope beyond feeling, to trust beyond evidence. When you persevere, you are not simply waiting for an outcome. You are being transformed into the kind of person who can bear the weight of the outcome when it finally arrives. Without perseverance, blessings would crush instead of bless, because the strength to carry them would not have been formed. Perseverance is the refining fire that equips you for what you have been promised. There is beauty in the unseen victories that perseverance brings. Waking up after a night of despair and choosing to pray again is a victory. Lifting your head when you want to hide it in shame is a victory. Offering kindness when bitterness beckons is a victory. Believing again when doubt claws at your mind is a victory. Each of these small triumphs may seem insignificant, but they accumulate into strength, shaping a soul that despair cannot break. Every choice to believe again is the quiet sound of despair being defeated. The mistake many make is to assume that perseverance is wasted if the outcome does not appear quickly. But perseverance is never wasted. Even when results are unseen, perseverance is planting seeds, forming roots, shaping resilience. Nothing endured in faith is lost. It all becomes part of the foundation on which your life is built. The struggle to persevere is itself the proof that your faith is alive. Dead faith quits, living faith endures. There is also a mysterious way in which perseverance itself becomes the answer to prayer. You may ask for strength, and strength is given not in a sudden surge, but in the daily choice to endure. You may ask for hope, and hope is born not in an instant, but in the gradual rising after each fall. You may ask for victory, and the answer comes quietly in the form of perseverance that refuses to yield. The very act of continuing is evidence that grace is at work within you, holding you when you cannot hold yourself. Despair thrives in giving up, in the decision to stop, in the surrender of hope. But it loses its power when you refuse to quit. The moment you decide to keep going, even weakly, even with trembling faith, despair has already been defeated. For despair has only one weapon, the lie that you cannot endure. When you endure anyway, the lie crumbles. Perseverance unmasks despair for what it truly is, an illusion that cannot bind you unless you believe it. The smallest steps of perseverance often matter more than the grand gestures. To whisper a prayer in the dark when no one hears is greater than shouting one in the light of day. To believe quietly in the silence is greater than professing loudly in the comfort of company. These hidden acts of endurance carry weight beyond measure. They are victories unseen by the world, but deeply known in the heart and precious in their strength. Perseverance is not glamorous. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It is quiet, steady, unyielding. Yet it is in that quietness that its strength lies. The world measures victory by outcomes, but faith measures victory by endurance. Each day you choose to press on, you are proving that despair has not claimed you, that hope is still alive, that faith is stronger than fear. You may feel weary, as though your perseverance is too small to matter, but every choice to continue is carving out a path that despair cannot erase. Every act of endurance is writing a story of strength within you. You are not waiting in vain, for perseverance is not a pause, it is progress. It is the movement of the soul forward even when the body feels still, the rising of the heart even when circumstances do not change, the declaration of hope even when hope feels faint. Perseverance itself is victory. It is the quiet triumph over despair, the unseen proof that faith is alive, the unshakable act of believing again and again, no matter how many times doubt tries to take its place. Every choice to endure, every choice to believe again, every choice to rise one more time is already defeating despair.